Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this very exciting program that we're having today, Meet the Expert. And today, I'm glad to have gotten this opportunity to be talking to all the students out there in this very difficult situation that we are in. As you know, this is an unprecedented moment in our lives, and the issue of the COVID-19 pandemic has really been affecting us in different ways. And I'm glad that most of our students, if not all, really in Zimbabwe, have been adhering, to the rules and regulations that have been set out to try and preserve life, to help each other in this very difficult situation. And I've always said, students in Zimbabwe are probably some of the best I have personally known in the world. Their conduct, their level of maturity, their passion, their work ethic is second to none. And the way students have conducted themselves during this lockdown, I think should be commended nationally. And personally, as a dean, I'm proud of what the students have achieved by just adhering, to the rules, staying at home, taking care of each other, checking on each other. And that is the type of student that we want to produce in Zimbabwe and in Africa. So our topic today, we are focusing on trying to co-create, solutions for us, as students, as universities, as we try to understand and to make the most of the time that we have during this lockdown situation. So the topic really will focus, on us probing, self-introspection, looking at what can we do to help each other? What can we do to maximize the time that we have? Remember, in every situation, you can either choose to be positive or to be negative. And as students, I think we are the future. We are the leaders of this nation, the future leaders of this nation. Hence, I would advise that you choose to have a positive mindset. Hence, this afternoon's talk is about looking at how can we maximize our time, how can we turn that which has been meant for evil for good. So we've been home for more than a month and a half now. And the question is, what have we been doing with that time? What type of thought patterns or processes have we been going through? So as I said, the topic speaks about co-creation. I'll begin by defining simply what co-creation means. So co-creation speaks about the ability to bring together the quantum of ideas, thoughts, from all of us, pulling them together for solution's sake. When we are co-creating, we don't leave anyone behind. When we say we want to co-create a solution, everyone's ideas, everyone's thoughts matters. So as a body of students, corporately and as individually, we can come up with tailor-made solutions to maximize our time during this very difficult situation. So co-creation, simply put, is us putting together the quantum of our abilities, our thoughts, our minds together to make sure that we create the future that we want. So why did I focus on the issue of co-creation? Co-creation, as I've said, allows everyone to be heard. No one's ideas or opinions should not matter. We have never encountered a situation such as this, hence it is critical that we are on the same page and we get an equal opportunity to listen to each other and to be heard. Students come from various backgrounds. We've got students right now that can't afford even to be on this platform to hear this message. But we've got students who have the ability and the means to be listening to this message, who I implore to then share with your maybe less fortunate counterparts. as we discuss about the change of mindset for us to prosper during this seemingly dim and dark time. I believe that as students, the mindset shift and understanding what the lockdown means for us will be what propels us forward. Right? So I will challenge you first and foremost to say, what does it mean to be a student? What does it mean to be a student? I want us to first start by redefining, because of the circumstances that have changed, what does it mean to be a student? I'll propose that let's start defining ourselves, as students that are adaptable. To be a student during this lockdown means somebody who can adapt, somebody who's able to change, and somebody who's able to realize the new reality that's been set before us. In life, you have to embrace the fact that there are multiple realities. And the COVID-19 pandemic has set a new realization that there's another reality that is at hand. Who would have ever imagined that a semester would not, continue? Who would have imagined that everything would come to a standstill the way it has? But the reality is time has not stopped. Certain functions, certain operations have stopped. Like us going to our campuses, us meeting with our friends and interacting on campuses might have stopped. But as students, we are first and foremost learners. And learners continue to learn. And this discussion we're having is exactly that. We are continuing to learn. And what we want to learn today are the coping mechanisms during this very tough situation. The coping mechanisms are also opportunities to reinvent, rethink, reorganize, and recreate reality as we have known it. So, what am I saying when I say let's rethink, recreate, reimagine our reality? It's clear that life is not as usual or as normal, right? However, we as the body of students have to realize that we've been given here a unique opportunity to come up with solutions, not only for ourselves as individuals, but for the nation. Do you know that the student body in Zimbabwe, the higher and tertiary student numbers, stands at around 250,000? That is a huge market. To me, that represents a huge opportunity. If we decide during this lockdown as the student body to form companies, to form unions, to form various bodies that can interact even just as students alone, we can create a student economy that allows us to generate some form of sustenance for ourselves. Have you thought about that? It is clear that the situation that is before us is hard, it's difficult, and what students are going through is unprecedented. Because for the first 18 or 19 years of our life, we're all preparing to go to university. And suddenly university has stopped. That is a bitter pill to swallow. But the good news, as I'm sharing with you today, it is not the end of the world. This is a huge opportunity, right, to recreate, reinvent, and reimagine systems. The definition of an educated person is one that is adaptable, is one that utilizes the knowledge that they've acquired to continue progressing. So as learners, we have been already acquiring knowledge from as far as ECD to date. The question is, how can we be utilizing that education that we've been gathering all these years? Because remember, the end is not just to have a certificate, a degree in physics, in English, in commerce. The idea is to utilize that knowledge that you gather from universities for your sustenance, to help the community, and have a life that you'd want. So the point here I'm making is already you are somebody who's learned. And not attending lectures right now does not render you useless. It doesn't. It gives you an opportunity to reflect. It gives you an opportunity to use that which you have learned and apply it in this new reality. How can you use that which you have learned all these years to create some value for you and your family right now as we speak? So, creating value for yourself comes from a mindset change. I've been interacting with students. Some say the first few weeks they read in the hope that they'll quickly go back to the semesters. Some said after the first 21 days, they decided to just start, relaxing, chilling, watching series. Some have started to engage in entrepreneurial exercises, trading. Some are writing books. Some are coming together and joining in the fight against the COVID-19, volunteering, being useful. And I remember some years ago when I was younger, I had the privilege of meeting the author of the Stephen Covey. And the lesson I learned from him the day I met him was the issue of relevance. He said in life we should strive to be relevant. And this is my message to you today, that we have to be relevant. And that relevance is generated by you. Remember, in life, if you're not happy about the situation of your life, only one person can change it. And that person is you. It is up to you to change the results that you are realizing if you're not happy with them. Why? Because they're your results. They're nobody else's results, they're your results. So you have the ability to refocus, reimagine, adjust your thought processes, and focus on the life that you'd want to have. And this lockdown is the perfect opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves. We cannot sit at home and just wait. We are more than that. The education system is simply but an addition to what's already you. So the second point I want to drive home today is I'm urging you as students to find out who you are. Ask that question to yourself, who am I? Basically, finding out who you are is a SWOT analysis. Your strengths, your weakness. Who am I? How do I do that, Dean, you might ask? Simple. It's not rocket science. You sit down, you grab a piece of paper, a pen, and you write down how you view yourself. You check out what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are the opportunities that surround me, what are the threats. It could be then 10 hours of sleep that you are currently enjoying. That might be a threat, right? It might be the bad thought processes of getting anxious about when will schools open, when will schools open. You have to now choose, as you analyze who you are, to reinvent yourself so that you focus more, right, on the positive and what you can do with this time. My talk this afternoon is not prescriptive. I'm not here to tell you that as students, this is what you're supposed to do now. No. Because we are co-creating the new reality that we are wanting. So your opinion, your perception, your reality matters. The issue is how do you connect it with the rest of the community to generate value for yourself, your family, and the nation, and the world. I've been saying with my friends that COVID-19 has also equalized the world. It has brought us to the same level, which means we've got a unique opportunity as students to be the leaders of the post-COVID world. We should not see this as a complete disaster. We see it as an opportunity to rethink and reimagine things. So I'm encouraging students to take this very serious step of getting to know who you are. Why? Because you are you before you are a student. The student part of you is simply an addition to the person that you are. So if we can be able to go back and find out who I am before I'm a student and then connect those two, the results will be amazing. Because remember, right, education is only good if you utilize it. It's like a muscle. If you don't utilize the muscle, it doesn't grow. It's of no use. And my worry is my connection with some of the students or my interactions with them. I've realized that some students, they love the idea of education, but they do not respect knowledge. I'll come again. I'm realizing that some of us love the idea of education, but do not respect knowledge. What I'm simply saying here is that knowledge is that ability to translate that which you have been taught, that education, into tangible things, into an ability to actually take care of yourself and your family. And this is the type of mindset that I believe is needed right now for us as students in this COVID situation. It is not time to look down and feel pity for ourselves. It is not a time to wait and ponder when universities and schools will open. It is time to be proactive. Statistics and research have shown that 95% of people live their lives reactively. And that is sad. We shouldn't live our lives reactively. We should be proactive. And statistics have also shown that people that go to work, around 90 or so percent, is a research that was done in the United States a few years ago, were not happy after they turned 65 or after they stopped working, because they look back and realize they never really enjoyed life or even amassed wealth. Why am I saying this? It is a challenge to you students to say, you know what, the way the systems have been operating actually have not been to our favor. We know our situation when it comes to the unemployment levels in our country, but does not having a job define me? In our African culture, we know that everyone is born with gifts. We even believe that a child is born, with a fist because they are holding their talents and their giftings. This period that you're at home is an opportunity to look deep inside yourself, introspect, and say, what are the giftings and the talents that are in me? And how can I translate those into a business, for example? How can I better myself? We have got so many other roles besides just being students. Some of us are brothers, sisters, uncles, husbands, wives. How can I improve those other areas of my life right now? How can I be more useful and relevant at home? These are the deep questions that you should be asking yourself, and I can assure you at the end of it, if you diligently follow these words and are serious about turning yourself into a completely new and different individual, you can do it. Remember, we operate at 3 levels as human beings. We operate at the intellectual level, at the spiritual level, at the physical level. And all these levels have to be tended to. And if you tend to them through the knowledge of knowing who you are, the results that you will get are truly amazing. So, the progression towards the person that you want to become has to be systematic. It has to be very intentional and deliberate. As I said, this whole talk is focusing on a mindset change. that is being given to us by the time that we are having by being at home. So it is absolutely critical that as you spend this time at home, you create positive behaviors, you create new mindsets to make sure that you are a success and you belong to the group of people that will look back to this time and know that we did not waste time during the lockdown, that the lockdown was a blessing in getting to know the person that I have become. I hope as we are talking, you are sending in your questions, and maybe in terms of how can I really improve myself? How can I maximize my time while on lockdown? We've already touched on some fundamental issues, mainly the issue of a mindset change, right? Why? Because your mindset affects your mood, affects your feelings, and eventually your actions. Remember, the quality and the character of your thoughts is determined by what you ingest into your mind. This is a time where you should be even focusing on reading certain books that allow for that change inside you. Because the thoughts that you have trigger the feelings that you then have, and eventually the actions that you take. So if you are having positive thoughts, certainly your feelings are going to be positive, happy, and the actions that you take are going to be proactive. So the fear that most students have been having, that maybe my life is determined by continuing to go to school, I'm here to tell you that it is not so, right? You are not defined by going to school. Going to school is an addition, right, towards your goals that you have set for your life. So there is no need to feel anxious. There is no need to feel depressed during this time. But there is every opportunity to reimagine and reinvent yourself. So some examples of what we can be doing as a body of students. I've already said there's 250,000 of you in Zimbabwe, including the tertiary institution, the colleges. We SAYWHAT is actively involved. And I'm saying this, to me, represents an actual market, an opportunity for commodities to be traded. What commodities, then, you might ask? Obviously, the first, the intellectual commodities. Some of you are uniquely blessed in various issues. Some are public speakers, some are physicists, mathematicians, writers. How can we create an economy of students? Right? Some of you are economists, and this is the time for you to be questioning the systems that have been operating. Can Zimbabwe, through you as our students, be the place where a revolution starts? Or how business is done throughout the world? Sustainable business models. Clearly the ones that we've been using haven't been so good, because we know the gap of the haves and the have-not has not shrinked. We're plagued with climate change, all sorts of challenges. So this opportunity we have been given to be home, thinking, focusing, reflecting, introspecting, is a blessing, especially for us in Africa, where things have been really tough. We've been given an opportunity to sit down and to think, to reimagine and be the masters of our destiny. So to my students, please be of good cheer. There is no reason why you should feel anxious about this situation, but there is every reason for you to look forward with good heart and cheer, because you can be the master of your destiny. What we need to simply do is to reinvent ourselves, change our thinking patterns, and decide to focus on that which will benefit us. And this we need to do through co-creating solutions, right? Co-creating solutions that are tailor-made for all of us, right? So one of the things that I wanted to also to encourage you as students was that you need to start conducting even surveys, for example, right? Become consultants by using the knowledge that you have already generated. Why? Because you're continuous learners. Right? You need to comprehensively amalgamate all the information and resources that are around you and produce, an ecosystem that allows you to flourish. So this COVID pandemic is not the end of us. And this temporary, stop of the world as we know it is not the demise of us. It is an opportunity. It pains us when we hear of all the people that have died during this period, because a single loss of life hurts us all. And yet, in Africa, we've been spared for now from the pandemic's, ravaging effects. So these are opportunities which I was saying, why are we being spared for now? Does this not mean we've got an opportunity to protect ourselves and the rest of humankind? We are, after all, the cradle of humankind. This is where it started. Hence, this is where new ways of living should start. And my third point, after you do the introspection to find out who you are, you then go through a process of a conscious evolution. The process of conscious evolution simply means you now become aware of who you are. And when you're aware of who you are, you're more deliberate about each and every step that you take. For example, through conscious evolution, you are able now to manage even your thought patterns, right? Because even when the negative, thoughts come to your mind of depression, of feeling low and feeling that this is the end, you are able to consciously counter those thoughts. You are in charge of your mind and the thoughts that come in. Reason with your thoughts and discard the ones that you don't want. It's your mind. It's your mental health, and you're in charge. But you have to speak to yourself with authority. You have to get to know the power that's in you. Remember, even education itself, it's drawn from within. Education comes from within us, which means it's infinite. What is within us is so much. So this opportunity to learn more as we're on the lockdown should propel us to the next level of the people that we're going to become. Right? So I see Ashley is asking me a question. Which books do you recommend we should read? Obviously, as a Christian, the first book that I would recommend Ashley is the Bible. The vast knowledge and wisdom that's in that book, even for business, is second to none. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, for example, is a book that I would also recommend. Even the 10-Day MBA, right? Those self-help books that motivate you can help you. Because one of the challenges that I feel as students we face is not knowing who to go to ask for advice. You want to make money, you go and ask a broke friend. That doesn't work. You have to be able to identify people that can inspire you, people that have evidence of having success so that they can share their formulas with you. And most of these books are written by people that have achieved, that have researched, that have a sound theoretical background of what they are talking about. So certainly, Ashley, go for those books and more. You need to be reading those books, right? And I'm liking the interaction. And then one of my former students here, Mr. Tatenda Zuze, is asking, what tips do you have on how to build effective teams that will be able to drive change post-COVID, right? Remember, our topic today speaks of co-creation. So an effective team is one where you gather people of like-mindedness. It is critical that you gather people of like-mindedness. Your friend might not be of a like mind in terms of the business that you might want to start. So effective teams that are built, one, your ability to identify people of the same, mindset, same work ethic. We've got a shared common vision that allows for that and mutual respect as you move towards a goal. So it's absolutely critical that you do build such teams or co-create such teams of people that have the same levels of energy. Like I said in my talk, we are working here with a mindset change. So you do want to work with people that share the same vision with you. So that is a good question, Tatenda. So the issue now, again, of the educated individual, right? The educated individual is not necessarily the one, like I said earlier, who has got the final degree, but is the person who is able to translate the education that they've been given into something that is useful and tangible, right? If I would have it my way, the first module that all students would go through in university would be Attitude Change 101. Why? Because our attitude allows us to focus. If we can manage our attitude, it is one of the key points that then defines the person, that we become. You've all heard that we are what we think. And the issue of attitude towards life, towards relationships, towards investments, towards even studying is critical in the person that you've become, that you will become. So hence, focusing on even your attitude itself, having a positive attitude, is something that I think during this lockdown, we should focus on. Read around the issue of attitude. What is an attitude? What do people mean when they say I've got a positive attitude? What are the traits of a positive attitude? And with those traits, how can I propel myself to the next level? So this is the type of thinking, the type of mindset that I am suggesting to you students during this COVID lockdown situation. It is the ability to rethink, reimagine, reinvent yourselves. Through the process of a conscious evolution, you will become the men and women that you want to become. Remember, there is no limit to what we can become. Here in Africa, we are an example of the excellence that we've got. We speak more than one language. Why? Because we grew up in an environment that spoke English, but we also have our traditional native languages. If we grew up in the States, we'd speak just one language. But if we grew up somewhere where 10 languages were spoken, we would speak 10. This is just a hint of the ability that the mind of a human being has. I have a brother who, during this lockdown, has learned 2 programming languages, self-taught, right? But he's majoring in psychology. But he's learned 2 programming languages in the past month and a half, right? Other students that have been talking to me have been reading a lot of self-help books. Some students have started some ventures, business ventures, trading, buying and selling. Some students have even written books during this lockdown. The one lady that has been writing a book, I think she's up to almost, 200-300 pages now, just writing, expressing themselves, using each and every day to add value to themselves. And this is the type of students that will come out of this post-COVID environment with an added advantage. It's also an opportunity for you to work on your relationships, even at a family level. Your parents, some of you have never really spent on your guardians time with you from the time you were Form 1 because you're always away. You're in boarding schools. You've been given an opportunity to reconnect relationships. You've been given an opportunity to get to know each other, mend the areas that have been, damaged. You've had an opportunity, right, to grow together, to find your place even in the home. So this is an amazing opportunity if you decide to view it as such. I have no doubt that the human, kind, we will triumph over this COVID pandemic. I don't know when and how, but certainly we will, because history shows us that we always do. And by God's grace, we always succeed. So more questions are coming in, and I'm really enjoying the questions here. And I think the other books that I think you should focus on, books like The Richest Man in Babylon, Life Capsules, is from one of our former students, Moffat Machingura. The local books, Life Capsules. We've got books like Game Changers, Definitive Book of the Body Language, And Jessica has also come in with a question. How are you, Jessica? I hope you're enjoying this session. Jessica says, what advice would you give on ways to counter procrastination? Oh, thank you, Jessica, for this question. Procrastination is one of those really, really negative habits that we develop over time. So how to counter procrastination? You start with some of the hints that I've given you today. The mindset change. When you decide to sit down and write and define the woman that you want to become, the assertive, goal-getting woman that you want to become, you write in detail how you envisage yourself. And then on a daily basis, you focus and meditate on that person that you're becoming. Even in the morning, you wake up motivated because you've got a goal to become that person that you want. Procrastination is a disease of a poor mindset. And procrastination can be easily beat. So Jessica, I can assure you, a mind shift change, improving your thought patterns can really kick out procrastination from your life. And Munashe has also come through. How are you, Munashe? I hope you are hearing me loud and clear. Munashe says, how does one bring an idea into flesh? How do we bring it to life? Right? Again, Munashe, there is no prescriptive way to bring an idea into life. But what I can tell you is, if you can imagine it, write it down, have a sound theoretical basis of what you are thinking, and then you get the right team or resources around to make that idea into reality, right? So one of the things, for example, if what you want to bring into life is a company, there are steps that you need to take. You have to register a company. You need to find out how you register a company, how it works, the field that you want to get into. Is it mining? Is it agriculture? You need to surround yourself with information around that and go through it, right? And also I spoke about the issue of getting mentors. You need people around that can advise you, and the right people. Don't be advised by people who haven't shown any evidence, right, within that field that you're trying to learn in. So bringing an idea into flesh is a function of your ability to organize all the information around you and then pushing it towards the goal that you have set yourself. Right? And another question here from Mr. Zuze. Even though we are like-minded, he's going back to the team's issue, to compete. We tend to compete. This hinders co-creation. How do we go around this? Again, Mr. Zuze, when you are creating a team, it will not be perfect. Far from it. But there has to be a sound basis of how you relate as students as you try and co-create solutions. Mutual respect, for example, codes of conduct in the team that you are building, and the focus. As human beings, we come from different backgrounds. We have to, as I said earlier on, embrace multiple realities and realize that we come with different perspectives. And that diversity in our characters is actually an asset. Somebody who's different from you does not mean they are lesser than you. But the issue is, how do we find a working ground of mutual respect, honoring each other, tolerance, patience? Those soft skills are also required even as we progress and work with others. So try it. It's not easy. Remember, we're continuous learners. There's no one size fits all prescriptive answer to how to best come up with a team. But the idea is, you try, you see if it's not working, you retry it again using different variables. So thank you, Zuze, for that question. Please keep them coming. I hope you are following, right? So I'll just do a quick recap as we are reaching towards the end of our talk today on how we can maximize our time as students during this COVID lockdown situation. I said the main thing that we have to do as students is to change our mindset, to view this lockdown as an opportunity to reinvent, reimagine, and recreate ourselves. We need to unlock the value and the talents that are within us before we are even students. And if we're able to do that, by the time our universities or our schools open, we'll be so far ahead. Some of you will end up even enrolling in 2 degrees because you will have found out so much stuff about yourself. Your attitude towards your schoolwork will improve. Your relations with fellow students will improve. And your focus in terms of knowing where you're going is going to be, laser sharp. So I'm glad that we've had this opportunity and that this talk is hopefully has been thought-provoking in terms of your ability as a student to realize that the potential that is in you is limitless. It's limitless. But we just need to change our thought, patterns. We need to consciously evolve, to be deliberate, to be intentional about the men and women that we're becoming. We need to proffer solutions, right? We have to be the head of what we want to become. The future that we want to see is determined by you and me. There is no savior that's going to come from somewhere. You have the ability. And the fact that today we are gathered here and interacting, online as students clearly shows that you're already gifted intellectually. But my talk today is telling you that it is just not the intellect that defines you. There are other variables to you that you need to create that balance. But you can't create that if you don't know who you are. So we need to really focus, find out who we are, and have an attitude of, being unstoppable. And I know in my years as a dean of students that each and every year I've learned so much from students. While they think they've learned from me, I've learned more from them. Why? Because everyone is unique, is gifted, and has an ability to share unique perspectives. And this is what I'm encouraging each and everyone who's watching me, that as a student, you've got the ability to achieve more than what you've been realizing. You're not just a student. You are you before you're a student. And that is the you that you need to get to know, so that being a student edifies you and the uniqueness that's in you. Right? Mr. Sibosibanda is also joining us. He said, how do I manage to find a mentor? Right? Finding a mentor, I think it's really much easy. Once you have sat down and written the man or woman that you want to become, you then start looking around the people that have achieved that you see clear evidence, right, of the journey that you want to take. Then you approach those individuals, right, with very specific, questions or goals that you want to achieve from them. Because like I said earlier on, let's just not cling to people sometimes who do not add value to ourselves. We have to be clear what is a mentor, right? Like I said, if you want good health, you don't go to a sick doctor. You go to a doctor that shows that even with their lifestyle, they are about what they talk about. So, Mr. Svanda, I think that is another way that, you could look for mentors, right? There's also a book, that is called The 5 a.m. Club. Right? This was recommended by Mr. Mamutse. I haven't read this one, The 5 a.m. Club. Take note of that. Again, it's a good book. I hear Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think this one is a very common one, right? Get those books. You will never get such an opportunity as we have right now in the lockdown, to get time to improve yourself. We've been given an opportunity to be down, quiet, listen, introspect, and learn more. Right? Munashe Maka